Oh, welcome to Thoughts Hard Coming. I'm Max and this is Nat.
Natalie.
This is where we talk about thoughts and non thoughts.
Anything and everything in between.
That's right, we are here to talk about things. So, Natalie, our subject today would be
One of the things we're talking about is Trump and his anti-gay discrimination law, where you can actually discriminate someone just because of their sexual orientation. Yeah, that's just one of the things we should talk about and just to put our 2 cents in.
I don't know when this law is in effect,
Supposedly January of next year.
January next year, and I don't know what the votes are going to be on that because I can't see the future yet. That we haven't figured that out yet, sadly. But what I do know is that my mother was married to a woman. Well, I'd say married because it's lack for a better word. It was a civil union. She was with another woman for 10 years of my life from 4 until 14. And that's who I was raised by, as a woman. So this really does affect my mind, at least.
Yeah, what it means is that someone can actually, if you are gay, if you're a man married to a man, a woman married to a woman, or whatever, is that they can actually fire you just for that reason. Not for your job performance, not for you cussing someone out, but because of you being gay.
Seems a little bit ridiculous, doesn't it? Like, why would Trump sign a bill that, like, we can ask questions like that, like, why would he sign a bill that has to do with discriminating against your sexual orientation when there's
I don't
already
see
laws
how
in
that's
place?
ethical or illegal in any way.
It's legal because they want it to be legal, Natalie. I don't know why they would want it to be illegal because it seems like we're ruining everybody's.
But every time you get hired for a job, regardless of what job it is, they always put in the application that you cannot be discriminated against for your sexual orientation, your race, for anything. Your skin color, doesn't matter what it is. But all of a sudden they're changing an ethics law. For what reason? That's why I don't understand. That's why I'm curious about this.
I think it's sort of the same reason why they changed the law already, and I might be wrong in this, having to do with the army. So they originally Obama put into place a law that had something to do with you can't discriminate against someone who's transgender in the army, and then they switched that law whenever Trump came into office. If I may be wrong in this, somebody may hang me at the stake for you're wrong. The law was this day,
so
whatever. But I think the reason they're changing it is because they're trying to move more into the direction of more discrimination instead of less discrimination.
well, it's like the thing that I was taught growing up is that a lot of this is not how I feel. This is how people in the military feel. Now, if you're in the military and you're gay, they discriminate against you. They see you as less of a person. So I'm thinking, do they really judge someone's personality and job performance just because of who they choose to sleep with? I don't understand that either.
Well, from my understanding, I think the law is going to be based around the person who's hiring, just like the law is based around the person in the military branch. Or, you can't be transgender in the army anymore. You used to be able to just before 2016, I believe. I may be wrong, but now it's going to be like the company, just like the military branch.
So it just gives them more leeway to fire and hire.
That's not even leeway. That's this is true just from math. You would eventually be hiring less people because less people would want to apply for your job if you discriminate. So it's less diversity.
But it's also less workforce and less people to help with your business.
Yeah, that's another thing about the other laws that we were talking about. It seems like America's becoming more family oriented, which I don't have anything wrong with. I don't think that that's wrong to push a society to.
Yeah, because apparently, according to religion,
Some religions, I'm sure.
some religions they think that sex should be between a man and a woman because you can reproduce, and you can create a family.
The Romans didn't think
That's
that.
what they believe. Like they don't believe in freedom of choice. They just think that you need a woman should be with a man, or a man should be with a woman because of the sanctity of a family, of marriage.
If we're talking about Christianity and Islamic and Judeo-Christian,
But that still doesn't
religions,
justify a workforce. It has nothing to do with family. That's just you working
Well, to me it
and
seems
making an income.
like the church and state are just, we're not butting heads anymore. We're melding together. Like church and state are becoming more one the more time goes on, and that's not what our forefathers originally intended, but it seems like that's what these politicians intend to do. They intend to take this barrier down really slowly without anybody noticing. And is there anything wrong with that? That's up for debate,
Well,
of
at the
course.
same
But
time, forefathers and hundreds of years ago, there wasn't really an issue with
look,
gays.
people were still rubbing together sticks and stones back then too.
It was very uncommon to be that way. That's the way they reviewed it, because it's just like it would be like a ridiculous, crazy thing to them. Like, hey, a man and a man, a woman and a woman.
I don't have any problem with that, but it seems as if
I know nothing against gay
these
people. I mean,
older politicians, and there are younger politicians being put in office. I think recently there was a senator in Hawaii or something that was one of the youngest, or one of those people that are young. But it seems like the balance of the scale is still old, young. You know what I mean? We're still down here. Me and you, I'm 23, you're 30. I consider us young. You could be the president in 5 years if you wanted to be.
according to the Constitution.
And, you know, I could run for Senate office in a few years. But the thing is, it's that these barriers between old and young still haven't been broken down yet. And when you look at the age gap, there's opinions in this age gap, you know? So just, what was it, 2 generations or 3 generations back, our grandfathers were still shooting Indians.
Well, it was early 1900s, so...
Like less than 100 years ago, like something like that. So you still have all these old opinions that still haven't died off yet, like gays deserve less rights, which is not what this law states.
The way I look at it is that it seems that a lot of people are not open-minded. They don't believe in the value of privacy.
I think the majority is...
Really, that is a private matter. It's true. Who you sleep with, who you hang out with.
That's one of the things that pissed me off now that you brought it up. It is a private matter, and it's nobody's business. If I tell Natalie I want to go suck whatever, and I want to go do whatever, and I want to be wherever with whoever, then, and she's okay with that, then what's wrong with that? Not that I am.
Open communication, open-mindedness, like, you know, just... I have no problem with it. I know people who have a problem against black people, against gay people, Hispanics.
Let's look at this realistically, because what would end up being is it would be a question. It would be one question on any application that you or I or anyone would be filling out who's an American citizen. It'd be, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you bi? Are you a lesbian? And these are the questions that it would ask, which they have no right to. They have no decision, this is my opinion, they have no reason to decide whether they can hire you because, if, or, and all that.
They should say, hey, guess what? This is your job performance. I shouldn't discriminate by the way you look or anything.
Exactly. I can't lift
I'll hire you because
I'm...
Or keep you here because you can work. Just like the place where you work. You probably would fire everybody there.
Yeah, I just imagine the amount of problems that this will cause in the future simply because that is discrimination. That is plain and simple discrimination. No matter how they write this law, no matter what they put, if you're asking those questions to a potential hire, that's none of your business. What they do in their sexual time is none of your business. And even if there are laws on the books, which there are, Natalie, laws on the books that state that sodomy is still illegal, even though, and there have been cases where they've used this law to jail people when they've noticed, oh, a man and a man are together, that's sodomy. Listen, this law is ridiculous, plain through and through, and I'm
just curious if it's going to pass, because
I imagine it will. I imagine it'll be very close to passing. If it doesn't pass, I believe it might pass.
Well, the way I view politicians is that they're in office to gain power. They want to get there, and they'll say whatever they can to get there, and then they will change stuff to their advantage. But I don't see how that's going to be an advantage by discriminating because of their sexual orientation.
It's an advantage because if your voter base Like, if voter bases are still 50-50, 60 million on one side, 60 million on another side, Democrats and Republicans, that's your voter base, and that's who you're both trying to appeal to. If one voter base is still old and racist, and another voter base is young and not racist, if the larger voter base that's going out and actively voting is still old and racist, they're going to implement old and racist, for lack of a better word, laws and actions, and they're just going to allow other companies to do things like that. Discriminate, because that's what the voter base is asking for.
They're pretty much just trying to
maybe not directly,
improve it for the majority of voters.
Exactly. So if and no offense against,
but it still doesn't make it like, what if there's a politician who's gay? What if there's somebody in the Senate or the House of Representatives who's gay? Wouldn't they be blatantly against that kind of a law?
The reason a lot of politicians haven't been openly gay, I'm sure, is because their state's voter base, there probably are, but they might not be openly gay. Their voter bases in their states wouldn't want them in office. That voter base of everybody in America who comes together and votes for, local laws and federal laws and the president and things like that, who come together to have this republic and this democracy and this government. Those people in every state don't want those people in office yet. I'm sure that there will be a point within 20 to 30 years where that opinion changes. At the same time,
the gay community is still a community.
It's a community of millions.
It's not just here and there. It's millions of people.
Actually, it might be more than.
So really, they're trying to appeal to another voter base by destroying one that has millions in it?
Well, the thing is, we'll see. I believe, this is my belief, that we'll see a point in the future where the younger people, the millennials, people like you and me, who are of the opinion that they shouldn't discriminate and they shouldn't be doing things like this, will become old, and the old people will be gone, and then a new race a new generation of people will be born who might have different opinions than us, and they might think that our opinions are old at some point, like we think their opinions are old.
Old and new generations, yes.
The switch. So if you look at the demographic of places like Japan and Europe, they all have different age demographics with different voter opinions, just like we do. But this law, I think, is completely racist. Yes. And completely sexist and completely against.
All right, dude. Next subject is recently, in his laws, in terms of that, the smoking age has turned 21.
It's already been passed. It should be.
I work at a place, and I'm not going to name where I work.
No, I have to.
Where they have enforced, at the beginning of September, that you have to be 21 or over to smoke cigarettes, which to me is strange because in all of history, time beginning when people were legally able to buy cigarettes.
Or they could walk.
18 years old. I bought cigarettes when I was 18. I'm 30 now, but I don't smoke anymore. He can tell you that. Okay. But anyway, but everybody asks me where I work. So, you have to be 21 to buy cigarettes now? I'm like, yeah. Have people get mad at me? I mean, I don't agree with the law, but really I just think that I don't understand how being 21 is going to prevent someone who's younger from smoking. Because I smoked when I was 14.
When you first told me this was a thing, and I didn't know about this until 2 months ago.
Most people don't. Most people who are at least under the age of 21, they don't know about it.
Still going to stores and trying to ask for cigarettes.
I have people who get mad at me who are, I'll look at their ID and they're born in 1935, and they'll get mad at me because I ID them. I'm like, I have to. But I just don't agree with the 21 over thing.
Well,
I just don't see how it's going to prevent somebody who's younger from smoking a cigarette.
The hilarious thing is, I don't know what the policies are for the place you work at, but I used to work at Dollar General, and the hilarious thing is, I was told by my manager that regulars that come in for cigarettes, you don't have to ID. If they're a regular and you already know their age, You don't
Well,
have to ID. The
our-
law states that you do have to ID, but they told me, listen, you're just going to piss these people off if you keep IDing them. That was their
Not according
policy
to the
at the store I was at.
policy that where I work. The only reason that we don't ID someone is if a manager has to do this because they think that someone who's less than a manager doesn't have eyeballs. The reason that they can judge it is that since they're a member of management, they can look at somebody and say, yeah, he's definitely 21 plus.
Listen, the law states, and this is...
That's the only time we cannot ID.
The law states you're supposed to always, no exception, ask for ID. No matter if you've seen them 100 times, 1,000 times, a
I have
million
regular
times.
customers. I see people like 3 or 4 times a day. I still have to ID them every time.
They can get pissed off by it, but if it's the law... Look, I already told you this. When I worked at Dollar General, I had a young woman, blonde, with a man behind her, come in, and I didn't even know we sold, like, only little things of beer. Like, she brought up one, and I looked at her, and I said, have to ID every time. She looked at me, and she's like, yep, I know. And then her and the man walked out. I was tested by the people who test this shit to see if I was doing it, and I do it every time. The only thing that I didn't do it at a certain time was for the cigarettes, because we had people from the same, and I knew I was supposed to. I was just told not to. So when you change this law for the 21 and up,
Well, I read the law.
cigarettes,
I read the policy that they give us in this pamphlet when they say that September 1st you must be 21 plus. The
20
reasonings for it is that there's this little bullet points where they say, you know, they're trying to decrease the age of younger people smoking because it can lead to birth defects, lung cancer, all kinds of health
I know
problems.
all those things,
But
will it help?
yet, why do they choose to sell the cigarettes?
Yeah, that's true. Why would...
Because you know why? Because guess what? The place where I work, they make a killing off of selling cigarettes.
Especially
I
since
sell that
recently.
more than anything. You can ask any cashier there, any cashier anywhere that sells cigarettes.
It's the same everywhere. Gas stations, retail stores.
They're gonna enforce something like that
malls.
because they want people to be healthier and smoke later in life.
I actually think this will be a negative impact. This is what I told you when I first heard about it. I think that what's going to end up happening, because this is now a thing, is that you're going to have people who were 18, they work jobs just like me and you, Nat.
Mm-hmm.
They're around, they work every day, you know? There's people in the army who are 18, 19, 20, and all this is going to do is get them to go to their friends, go to the people who are
My dad joined the military and he was 17. He wasn't even old enough to buy a cigarette then. 1971. And he used to always joke around and thought how stupid it was. Like,
It's
oh
stupid.
yeah, you can go to Vietnam and shoot somebody, but you can't buy a drink. Legally in the United States, you cannot buy one for 3 years.
I don't know why that is.
He's like, damn, I can't even buy a beer. I just shot a guy.
I don't know what the
They're children.
population is of 17 to 18
High
to
school
20
students, pretty much.
to 30 and 40 and 60. I don't know what that is in the United States specifically by the numbers. But I think if you really looked at it and you saw, you got a lot of 18-year-olds right now who are smoking cigarettes. You got a lot. And I know that this law is meant to decrease the effects of cancer and CPD or CPOD and lung things that happen
They
later
really care, they
medically
wouldn't sell
because of cigarettes. But if they really cared, you're right. Retail
wouldn't.
stores just
They
wouldn't
don't
sell
care.
cigarettes.
They don't care because they will lose money.
It affects their bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
That's
billion-dollar
the truth.
industry here and in every other place in the world. But the way laws are written in other places in the world, I mean, I don't know who has the least impact on things like cancer and medical issues that arise from smoking cigarettes. And I've told you this, and a lot of people don't know this, but I told you this recently. I said, Nat, do you know how people used to smoke tobacco back in the day? I back in the Old West days when people still had 6-shooters on their hips, what they used to do, And I asked you, how often do you think they smoked? And you said, I don't know, 3 times a day or something like that. I said, no, Nat. They smoked once.
Well, also back in the day, you didn't have to have a license to carry a firearm.
Yeah, they smoked once when the sun
You
went
could
down.
openly carry a gun in public.
For dinner.
Not have to sign any paper or anything. Hey, I want a gun. Give me that gun, please. There was no paperwork. There was no laws. It was just, well, do whatever you want. Just don't shoot somebody in public.
If you gain control of the weapons, you gain control of the people. If you gain control
it's all about control.
Of who you hire, you gain control of
everything.
People. If you gain control of the cigarette age and the alcohol age, you gain control of the people. And that's what the federal government has done. They took it away from the states. And this is what we're going to see happening more and more often. And there's nothing wrong with this, at least in my opinion, is they're going to take away more and more of these states' rights. And it was the decision of every one of those states back in the Old West days to say, look, buy a gun, defend yourself. Now it's the decision of the federal government to say, buy a gun, license it, get it open, close carry license, buy tags so you can, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is all good. Everything that's happening is good. Look, I just have opinions about all this.
Just another thing about a driver's license, right? Okay, this is what I've always thought was weird. You have to show proof that you can drive this vehicle. Here's you a card, or here's you a tag that you have to get renewed every year. Every year on your birthday, just something that's put on your car.
I don't think it's every year. I think it's every 3 or 4 years.
Whatever, something like that. But why do you need that exactly? It's because it's like you. It's a tax. It's controlling the people.
Well, I'm gonna bring up a conspiracy here.
I'm just gonna just put this on your car so that we'll know that we can just control you.
I forget the exact name of this, but there's people who believe that they're free statesmen or they're free citizens of the world or something like that. And what their opinion has to do with is that they believe that the laws of the government are written, and this is going to sound crazy. You can look all this up. I'm not talking out of my right now. What it is that they believe that the laws that are written are based off of sea laws. Like, so when you're in a courtroom, look behind you next time when you're seeing the judge. You see one flag and you see another flag. It all has to do, they believe, with how the laws of the sea work, and they think that when we go through our mother's birth canal, that we're property of the United States as a governing body. And they believe that because we sign a birth certificate, it's a certificate of trade, just like it would be back in the old days. Yeah, like
possession is 9/10 of the law, so apparently we are possessed by them.
So what they're possessing, these free, and I don't believe this, I've read a lot into it, what they believe they're possessing is our surname or our fake name or our given like name. So whenever you see your name written down in bold and it's all letters and it's all uppercase, they believe that what we're doing now, legally speaking, is we're giving away our rights as human individuals to this government because we put a straw man into the courtroom. And we can't legally, it's very confusing about what it is they believe, but having to do with your point, it's that maybe the more you control, people's decisions in the bedroom and otherwise, and in what they buy and what they sell, the more you constrict them into having a family, and the more you constrict them into this system. And we're all United States citizens, and I have nothing wrong with being
Well, at
a
the
United
same
States
time,
citizen.
it could also, cause somewhat of a stir or rebellion.
It's quashing rebellions
Rioting,
before they start.
possibly?
It's quashing riots before they start. It's.
I don't know about that.
I don't think there's been any riots recently.
I mean, you're pretty much
It's the most peaceful time in
pretty
human
much
history.
suffocating someone because of what they can do in a bedroom. That's not going to cause anger or an upheaval of some sort.
It's going to cause a lot of people to lose their jobs. Is what it's going to cause. It's going to cause, and not only that, within 5 years we're going to see automation completely change. That's one thing a lot of people don't think about. And if you change automation, you change who you can hire because you hire less. Now, and my job is particularly vulnerable to this because am in an industry where machines can come in and do 99, 98% of the work that I'm doing. 100%. That will change. In 5 years, I will be out of a job. In 10 years, I guarantee I will be out of a job. Maybe even less. Now, what they're doing is they're just constricting our ability to accrue monetary value over time. Especially with these two laws. I mean, if you think about it, I may sound a little insane right now, but if you think about it, that's really what is happening. Because if you take away, their ability to smoke and do whatever, you're turning them, you're saying, you learn until this age. You learn until 21, and then when you gain
Max,
money, you can start doing that.
I understand about rules.
And then you can hire
this rule
if you're doing the correct thing.
Because I told you to do it.
And then we can put you on a job.
But that doesn't justify discrimination against that, though. Against gays.
You're right, it doesn't, but...
Because I don't see how that benefits them either. I just don't see a benefit.
It benefits
especially
them.
Especially if there's millions of them.
If you have drones working for you that are human drones, you have a slave
Then
workforce.
why not create discrimination against gender? Why not say, I can fire you because you're a female?
It might come to that point one day.
Why not just make it widespread, not just a certain kind of class?
I feel what you're saying, and I feel it. I fear it, and I feel it. It's scary that it might be to that point one day.
I'm just saying, why is it, if that's the reason that they're doing it, is to create this sort of control and restriction, then why is it only gays? There's so many ways that you can discriminate against someone. Their age, for example. They can say, hey, you're not 40 years old, Max. I don't think you should work here. I don't think you're old enough.
We have a wonderful 83-year-old woman working where I work.
Or you're too old. You can discriminate against that.
Woman.
Hey, you're too old. You can't work here.
She's actually wrestled before at her age. I don't know why they don't just make it plain for us to all see, but I think the slower you gain control, the more you put people asleep, I mean, that's kind of a messed up statement, and I don't mean to sound so messed up right now, but when you get into these topics, where else is it going to end up?
There's only so much you can say about it, and so much, you can try to
think and dig into it.
And be like, hey, I don't agree with you. I'm trying to understand why you're doing this. I guess in a way I can kind of understand their sadistic way of discriminating. Because there's really no other way to describe that.
I don't think the word is necessarily sadistic. I think it's just...
Would they want someone to tell them who they can sleep with? Answer that one.
Apparently they don't
Politician who made that law can say, hey, man, I don't want you sleeping with that woman.
I don't know who brought this law forward, what state senator or what House representatives or who.
Like, hey, you're straight. We're going to discriminate against straight men. You like women and you're a man, I can fire you any moment. I think the tables would turn if that was the case.
You're right. They probably would turn a little bit if it were the case that they were the ones being discriminated against, because they'd be putting themselves into the people's shoes.
Yeah, they would get angry. They would question why. Why are you firing me? I just didn't like the fact that you were hanging out with that woman the other day. I don't know who you sleep with.
You know what? I 100% agree with this law if they said people in politics can't be gay. If they said people, and if we find out that you're not a politician anymore. You can't be there. Simple as that. I think that makes enough sense. I think if the tables were turned, you're correct, Natalie. They wouldn't want it to be that way. Because
you can discriminate against a straight man just as much as you can a gay man.
And I'm not accusing any one politician or any person within our government of this, but listen, if you are a politician and you are gay and you are listening to this, maybe if you agree to this law, you shouldn't be a politician. I think that makes sense.
Almost 30 minutes, yes.
I think that makes sense. I think that makes enough sense, doesn't it? Sadly, I don't have much to say about hip-hop news. So
no.
If you want to look up hip-hop news.
This is our first try at a video, so we're just going to keep it at 30 minutes.
Yeah, and we're going to improve the camera quality eventually, maybe not.
Our laptops suck.
Shh. But if you want to look up hip hop news, then it's gonna end up. You're probably gonna want to look up like Free Meek Mill, or you're gonna want to look up the things that have been happening recently with. Old Town Road is still going huge, so everybody knows that. I'm sure you'd be probably mad at me for even saying that. I apologize for saying that if you're listening to this.
Used a lot, beat to death.
Yeah, and I mean, great for Lil Nas X, great for all of the, Cardi's had some stuff going on in the news lately, and I've
Always
watched.
in the news.
Yeah, everybody's always in the news, but if you want to look up hip hop news, just type
I like
in
the new Drake
hip-hop
song.
news. Oh yeah, Drake has a new album out. I listened to that.
I like Drake.
Yeah. Also, Chance the Rapper. I think he put out. I think it wasn't a mixtape. It was his first actual album recently. I think
Lil Wayne done anything new?
No, he hasn't done. Oh, he's done I listened
more about
to some things on SoundCloud that he's done with some smaller individuals. I don't remember the names of those smaller individuals. Sorry Not Sorry was the name of the song. It was great with Lil Wayne. He featured in it. And then there's been some videos that he's put out just within the past 2 weeks actually. So if you look up Lil Wayne New 2019 on YouTube, all those should pop up within the first search results. And I think he has 3 new things out. Lil Wayne does. I've listened to everyone. I played him in the car with you.
Yeah.
That I was able to find.
He's
But he's had no new projects.
I love Lil Wayne too, but he's genius, so love that.
So he's had no real new projects, but he's been going pretty. I mean, he's at a point where he doesn't have to go as hard as he had to when he was
just like
25, 30. Yeah, all right. Don't get me started on Eminem.
We're gonna do that one next one. He could probably talk an hour about Eminem anyway.
I mean, it's whatever. It's whatever.
Don't go down that road, and I agree with him because I'm an Eminem fan. I'm not much of a rap fan. I like Drake. I like Eminem. Lil Wayne's cool.
Since you brought up Eminem and we're on hip hop news, has been some beef or some. It's really not even beef when you look into it, but it's between NF and it's between Eminem. So, and it's really just opinions between a whole bunch of people saying that NF has responded to Lil Wayne's Kamikaze, but he's responded his own way. And when you listen to a lot of the things that NF has, and I've listened to a lot of the things that NF has put out, it's really that he's not responding. What he's doing is he's saying, look, I understand him. I get it. But you can't come at me like that. And that's all he's trying to say. And Eminem, I don't believe has responded yet or even heard anything having to do with NF. So M and NF just, though that's something recently within Hip Hop News that I've heard. And it's a pretty interesting subject to get into.
Pretty much, all I can say about Eminem is that kind of wish it was 10 years earlier. Because apparently he's gone down the don't really care road.
Well, that's why, and I believe, and I'm just going to mention this since we are in Hip Hop News, and I already told you some of this, my beliefs having to do with it. I believe that Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly agreed beforehand, before any of the news happened about it, to respond to each other. And it was civil, right? And I know I might be wrong. I know some people might call me crazy. But I believe that they knew each other before all these things occurred within the news, before it even happened last year in 2018. This is all news, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
Kind of like when Machine Gun Kelly's to me, I think it's publicity stunt.
I wouldn't call it that, because that's not the intention.
I just think, they stirred something up, riled people up, or riled each other up in an intentional way.
Well, in my mind, there had to be a phone call between MKG and M. That had to do with something beforehand.
It was premeditated in a way.
Otherwise, you'd have M suing MKG for...
So there must have been a conversation between two people.
Excuse me?
Because if he was really that much against it and offended by it, then how come nothing really happened with it? If it wasn't premeditated in some way.
I mean, we could talk about this for another 30 minutes.
I know. That's why we're not going to.
But we're probably going to end up cutting it off right around here. Do you have any closing thoughts, Natalie, just like with Hip Hop News? Or do you want to say anything else about these 2 subjects that we talked about?
I'm good.
All right.
I mean, nothing else really to say. We could just talk about it till we're blue in the face, but, that's pretty much the gist of it.
That's the idea.
Mhm.
So this is Nat and Max closing out. Peace. Have
Peace.
a wonderful day, afternoon, wherever you
Bye.
are, whatever country.